So, the Wellington curse. Is it finally broken, or are we just getting better at disguising old habits under new buzzwords? After all the build-up, all the talk of tempo and expansion, what we saw at Sky Stadium might have looked like dominance on the scoreboard, but was it really the new era we were promised? Let's unpack everything from the All Blacks' statement win over France, and trust me, there's more here than just tries and tackles. The All Blacks crushed France 43-17 in Wellington, sealing the series with a game to spare, and yes, maybe finally lifting the hex that's haunted them in the capital. It was a performance built on physical dominance, not flash. From the opening whistle, Scott Robertson's men flipped the script from Dunedin. Instead of France starting fast, it was the All Blacks who scored early, a penalty, then a clinical move sending Cam Roigard over. From there, it was one-way traffic. Ardie Savea and Cody Taylor muscled their way over, and then came a moment of brilliance, a stunning sequence that led to Tupou Vaa'i crossing for what was probably the try of the night. By halftime, it was 29-3, game basically done. France tried to claw back in the second half, with Joshua Brennan and Leo Barre grabbing consolation tries, but New Zealand answered back through Will Jordan and Rieko Ioane, whose improved form deserves some recognition. Let's be real, this wasn't about slick backline moves, it was trench warfare, and the All Blacks forwards owned it. The scrum wasn't as dominant as last week, but the maul, the breakdown, the line out, France simply couldn't cope. Patrick Tuipulotu carried like a madman, Fabian Holland was everywhere, and that back row, pure balance. Savea was his usual whirlwind self. Tupou Vaa'i was immense both in the air and in contact, and Christian Leo Willie had a breakout game at the collision zone. France got steamrolled, their line-out collapsed, their maul went backwards. By the time Fabien Galtier's bench came in, it was too late. Here's where things get interesting. Robertson has talked about tempo and bringing pace back to the All Blacks' identity, but let's call it for what it is. This was not expansive rugby. It was brutally efficient, yes, but it looked a lot like 2024. Roigard and Buden Barrett directed play smartly, but most of the game happened between the 15s, little width, rarely going coast to coast. Even the best outside backs had little opportunity to shine. Billy Proctor defended well, but didn't get much ball. Amoni Narawa barely touched it. Rieko Ioane finally made an impact, scoring and assisting, but even that came from tight play, not space out wide. So, are the All Blacks evolving, or just executing a more clinical version of last season? Let's not sugarcoat it. France's team selection backfired. Galfi made wholesale changes, and it showed. The pack was light, the backs were unsettled, and cohesion was nowhere to be found. There were still bright spots. Brennan ran hard, Colombe surprised in the scrum, and Halagahu had moments, but their lineout was dismantled, their maul was humiliated, and the backs didn't stand a chance. Worse, even the New Zealand commentary couldn't keep track of who was who. Confusing Bochaton for Halagahu, mixing up Taufi Whenua and Woki, it was amateurish. Respect is a two-way street, and maybe doing a bit of research wouldn't hurt. After all the complaints from the first test, the TMO had a better day. Brett Cronin chimed in when needed, but the flow of the game was mostly unaffected. Credit where it's due, this time, the officiating didn't steal the show. So yes, it was a dominating win, a series-clinching performance, and maybe even the start of a Wellington revival. But let's not lose the plot. Was this really the exciting fast All Blacks 2.0 that fans were promised? Or just All Blacks 1.5 with better execution? What do you think? Was this a true glimpse of Robertson's revolution, or just a repackaged version of the past? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Kiwi Rugby updates for the stories behind the scoreboard.